And welcome back to the Brody File. You know, evangelicals and voting, that mix has one word attached to it: pathetic. There are 90 million self-identified evangelicals in America. Only half are registered to vote. And get this, only half of the ones that are registered to vote actually vote. That means out of roughly 90 million evangelicals, maybe 30 million are voting. That means 60 million are sitting on the sidelines. Not good. Our next guest wants Christians to understand that voting is not your right, it's actually your duty. David Barton is CEO of Wall Builders. He goes around the country talking about the importance of evangelicals voting biblical values, and he explains our country's history from a Judeo-Christian standpoint. We actually sat down with him recently about that, and of course we had to start our conversation with who else? Donald Trump. Talk to me a little bit about what you see the potential here for him. I mean, he's kind of all over the place, and I know Christians are trying to kind of figure out him and what he might stand for. What's your sense of what he might be able to do here?
There's a couple things. Let me address the Christian part first, because Christians are trying to figure him out, and they really don't need to. Because the Bible is real clear that it's not about the personalities you put in office, it's the type of policies you get from those people. You can have a righteous David in office, but if he numbers the people and has a census and God brings judgment on the nation, you can have a righteous Hezekiah in office and he decides to do bad things in foreign affairs and God brings judgment on the nation. So you can have good guys that do bad things, or you can have Cyrus and Nebuchadnezzar who do good things. So it's really more about the policies they produce than it is about the personality of the people who are there. And Christians, particularly in the last 15, 20 years, are looking at personalities more than they are policies. So you go to the Bible, God says, top policies, judges. Isaiah 126, the righteousness of the land is based on the judges in the land. So the first question for a presidential election is, what kind of judges am I going to get? Pro-life, whatever. Second question is Israel, because the covenant in Genesis 12:3, however we treat Israel, God's going to treat us the same way. Doesn't matter who our leader is. Doesn't matter if we got a righteous leader. If they do the wrong things with Israel, we're all in trouble. So the second thing you have to vote on is, what am I going to get from Israel? Is this a leader going to connect us with Iran, going to connect us with the Palestinians, or are we going to connect with Israel's enemies more than Israel? That's a problem. Third thing is you go to the Ten Commandments. God gave 613 laws, but in Exodus 23 he said, but here's my top 10. And so as you look at the top 10, one's religious acknowledgments. I'm the Lord thy God, acknowledge me. That's conscience protection, because that's part of our religious acknowledgement. Which candidate's going to do a better job protecting conscience from LGBT attack, for example? You know, the bakers and the florists and the others. Second thing, it says, hey, adultery's wrong, which means sex is to be confined to a man and a woman in a lifelong union. Any arrangement of sex outside of that is wrong. So whether it's homosexual, premarital, or whether it's extramarital, it's all wrong. But who's going to be the best one at defending traditional marriage? The other one that God puts in his top 10 is don't shed innocent blood. Mine goes right to abortion. So those are all 5 top 10 policies that you can look at and say, you know what, I don't care what the personality of the leader is, which one's going to give me these 5 policies that exalt the nation. So that's the first thing on Christians. But the second thing is Trump provides a paradigm that Christians are not used to. We're so used to having government leaders. We think in terms of governmental leaders. With a business leader, you do things totally different. It's not how much he knows, it's the people he puts around him. And so Trump has lost his fortune several times, but he rebuilt. How come he keeps rebuilding it back to a billionaire level? Because he keeps taking the best people and putting them over those endeavors. And so as far as Trump's concerned, he doesn't have to be deep on the issues because he uses a CEO model, not a governmental model. It's about who he chooses.
This lack of energy within the body of Christ when it comes to voting. We've heard the numbers: 90 million self-identified, half are registered, half of those don't even vote. So what is your sense as to why that is going on? What needs to change, and how can it change?
That sense of why we don't vote when we should is very simple. We have a very selfish view of what we do with voting. And I say that in the sense of most Christians think that voting is a right. It's not. It's a duty. Because if you think it's a right, I'll decide whether I vote or not. It's my right, it's my choice. If you think it's a duty, I don't have a choice whether I'm going to vote. I have to vote. And once you make that decision, I have to vote, then the choice is, all right, who do I choose? And that's a whole different paradigm. We're still working on whether I want to vote or not. It's my choice, it's my right. No, it's not. It's a duty. I look at Matthew 25 and Luke 19, where the Lord gave a certain entitlement, if you will, a certain trust to the people. Said, you take care of that till I get back. And he came back and said, what'd you do with this? I didn't do anything with it. You're in trouble. And that's our vote. I gave you a vote. What'd you do with that vote? I decided not to use it. That was not an acceptable answer back in Matthew 25 or Luke 19, but that's the way Christians think. It's my vote. I'll do what I want. That's selfish. It's not your vote. It's God's vote.
David Barton here on the Brody File. All right, coming next, all he wanted to do was pray with his players. Now Coach Kennedy is fighting back. Abigail Robertson with the details when we come back.